Now we're going to move into our third vertebrate category, which are reptiles. And reptiles are ectothermic. They are cold-blooded vertebrates, and they do have scales. Amphibians don't have scales. Reptiles do. That's what's going to be the main distinguishing characteristic that's going to separate those two classes. And reptiles have amniotic eggs. These are eggs with an amnion, or a protective liquid buffer inside the egg to protect the embryo. So the embryo is not, the baby is not hitting back and forth on the inside of the shell and then easily could die. So the amnion is a fluid cushion or pillow inside to protect the baby. So class Reptilia are vertebrates with tough, dry scales, as we said. They do have lungs, so none of them will have gills. They will have lungs. There is no larval stage with reptiles. There is no gills, just lungs. We did say that they have amniotic eggs, this amniotic fluid inside the egg protecting the baby, and they have more of a leathery shell, not a hard shell like a bird egg, but a leathery shell that will actually help retain and hold moisture so the egg doesn't dry out. Now, we said most reptiles are oviparous, meaning they lay eggs. The mother doesn't have to sit on the eggs, but may watch them. You can see in this picture basically the whole structure of the amnion. This amnion is the fluid buffer. You have the amniotic cavity with the fluid inside, and you do have a yolk material that provides food, so there is no milk production or feeding of the baby. Basically, the baby is developing and growing through the yolk. Again, the nutrients from the yolk, not the parent. And then there is other fluid inside the egg, such as the albumin, or the white of the egg. Now, reptile scales do provide protection, more durability for the reptile. As the reptile does grow, the scales will also grow. Many reptiles will molt or shed their scales. Reptile scales are waterproof, allowing it to live rainy seasons or swim in water. You can see the molting even over the eye. So heat sensors are not in all reptiles. These are specifically for the pit vipers, such as the rattlesnake. Basically what a pit is, it's a hole between the nare or nostril and the eyeball. So it looks like it's a second nostril closer to the eye, but it's not. It's actually a heat detection that allows the snake to see in infrared view, to see heat. So the animal may be behind the bush as the rabbit, it can still sense and identify, identifying specifically endothermic animals, warm-blooded animals. It could still identify and find cold-blooded animals, like the frog you can see in the picture. So here you can see the pit, which is not the nostril. So it's actually between the nostril and the eye. Reptiles mainly consist of lizards, snakes, and turtles. So there's different branching of different types of lizards, small, large, different types of snakes. Snakes have a double-hinged jaw, throats that stretch, allowing it to eat something larger than its mouth. So it will detach its jaw. That's what double hinge refers to. It will detach its jaw and stretch it out, allowing for the large egg or the large animal to go through the jaw and the throat. Now, most snakes are non-venomous, such as the boa constrictor, the garter snake, a lot of small prey snakes, but many of them are venomous, and that will include cobras, vipers. We just talked about the pit viper having the heat sensor. Coral snakes and sea snakes. I think almost all sea snakes are venomous. Okay, so here's some fun facts. How do you tell the difference between an alligator, a crocodile, and a caiman? It basically goes down to the snout. The alligator is going to have more of a broad snout, and the teeth are more hidden, while the crocodile is going to have more of a slender, pointy snout, and the teeth are shown. Now, the caiman is going to have a very, very thin snout. I think we have a picture here, okay, showing the differences between the three. You can see the alligator, the crocodile, and the caiman. Now, how do you tell the difference between a sea turtle, tortoise, and terrapin? Well, you generally look at the feet. The sea turtle has flippers. Generally, they're made for swimming. The tortoise, basically very slow terrestrial land reptile, um, claws more for digging and for walking. The terrapin, however, can be in both land and water. Sometimes around the feet, they do have nails, but they will have little webbing, allowing it to swim in water. But they can also walk on land. And as I talked about different snakes that are poisonous, here you have two snakes. You have a coral snake and a milk snake. Well, which one is poisonous? Maybe you've heard this before, but here is a little poem or a little rhyme to help you remember. Red on black, friend to Jack. That will be the milk snake on the right. Red on yellow, kill a fellow. That will be the coral snake. What do I mean by red on yellow? That means the red is touching the yellow. With the red and yellow, the red never touches the black. So red will always touch yellow. That is a poisonous snake. Now, the coral snake does not have fangs. They actually have a poison in their saliva. So when they bite you, they rub their teeth back and forth. Once they break the skin and they open up to the blood, the poison rushes into your bloodstream and gets to your heart and kills you. If we look at the milk snake or the king snake, the milk snake will have red on black. So the yellow will never touch the red. So it's red and black. That's the friendly snake. That's the one you don't want to kill. It's not poisonous. A lot of people have killed the milk snake thinking it was the coral snake. Many times in movies, when they need dangerous, colorful snakes, they'll use the milk snake. I remember watching this one TV show, and this guy reaches into a bag, and he falls back dead, and there's two fang marks in his hand, and what slithers out is this snake. Well, what snake was it? It was a milk snake. And I'm like, what? The milk snake, number one, isn't poisonous because I can tell it's red on black. And number two, the milk snake and the coral snake, they don't have fangs. So why on earth would they do that? They didn't do their research. So I think one fun movie is, I think the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, when they're kind of climbing up the side of the mountain in these large balls made out of prison balls made out of bone, and one of the pirates grabs the snake and sees it, and he's screaming. So we think that's a poisonous snake, but actually, because it looks like the coral snake, they can use the milk snake. In movies, you would not be able to have actors hold the coral snake because it could easily bite one and then kill the actor. Okay, that's it. Now we're going to move into birds. This is going to be Class Aves. Class Aves is going to be the first of the kingdom Animalia that we're going to be talking about so far that is going to be warm-blooded. Everything else that we've talked about are ectothermic or cold-blooded, in which the body temperature changes with the environment. But here, the body temperature is going to stay the same, and therefore it needs to have feathers, warm feathers. It needs to maintain that body temperature and stay warm so it doesn't die. And that's the other thing about birds, is that the defining characteristic isn't just wings or scales on the body or beak, but it's feathers. No other animals have feathers. Other animals such as insects or bats have wings. Other animals such as reptiles have scales, but no other animal will have feathers. Okay, as we said, birds, the defining characteristic is feathers. Birds do have wings. Not all birds fly, even though they do have wings. They do have a beak for different functions, and they lay eggs, and they have scales on their legs. Now, the ability for flight isn't just feathers or wings. There's a lot of other structures in the bird's body that aids and helps with the ability to fly, and that is the four-chambered heart to pump blood to the body, to provide the blood flow to the muscles, efficient lungs, provide the oxygen to the body cells, but also as it goes higher and lower atmosphere, and also the bones, which are hollow. Birds have a high metabolic rate, meaning they can break down food faster for energy. They are endothermic. They do have a body temperature that is constant. They excrete a semi-solid metabolic waste, which is because it also has a cloaca, just like reptiles and frogs. They do have a developed nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and nerves in the body, and they have excellent vision. Now, some of the feathers that we're going to focus on are the flight feathers, the body feathers, or the semi-plume feathers, and the downy feather. And as you can see here, the bone is hollow, especially cavities help with flight. The Eiffel Tower was actually designed from the bird bone. You can see right here you have the primaries, the secondaries. The primaries are the outer feathers. The secondary is close to the armpit of the bird. Then you have the coverts on top, closer to the bone and arm of the bird. So you can see a little bit of the shape as the flight feather is actually uneven, looking a little bit like the wing of an airplane. And then you can see the structure of the body feather. And the downy feather, of course, is important for warmth for the bird because it's warm-blooded. And then we talked about this with the reptile, the amniotic fluid, providing that bumper or protection around the embryo. The allantoic fluid, which is the white of the egg. You do have that air space. If you guys want to open up an egg, you can actually see the air space. If you boil an egg, that air space is there for the baby. Then you have the yolk and then the shell. Now, migration is the seasonal movement from animals from one region to another. Usually they will be going to warmer climates because they are endothermic during the winter. Now, different birds have different character traits depending on where they live and how they survive. Many birds use their feet for perching, which is sitting on a branch. Some birds will use their feet, which are more webbed, for swimming, while others have talons, which are the sharp claws, for grabbing prey. In the same way, not only do their feet have a function, but their beaks have a function. Many birds are known for cracking seeds, and if they're going to crack seeds, they need a very strong, durable, probably thick beak, while other birds may have a pointed, sharp beak for tearing flesh, whether they're a scavenger or a predator. Some birds, like ducks, will have a thin beak for filtering food out of water, while others may have a wide or pointed one for catching insects. And there's many others.